Some nights, the noise inside your head is louder than anything outside. No traffic, no TV, no one is talking, just you and your own mind, working against you. That was Marco's life. Not because the world had been cruel to him, but because he could not stop thinking about it. He was 24 years old, healthy, alive. From his window, he could see the mountain peaks at dawn, gold and quiet, and think for just a second that everything was fine. Then the thoughts would start. They always did. Replays of old conversations, decisions he wished he had made differently, the job that did not work out, the relationship that fell apart, the version of himself he thought he would be by now. The thoughts did not just visit, they moved in. He stopped sleeping through the night. He would wake at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. The ceiling stared back at him like an unanswered question. He stopped seeing friends, not because he did not want to, but because pretending to be okay had become exhausting. His body was there, but Marco, the real Marco, had gone somewhere quiet and stopped answering. Then, one afternoon, sitting on his porch with a cold cup of coffee, he heard something. An old neighbor told him about a man who lived up in the hill village, a former psychologist, one of the best in the country. He had worked with veterans, trauma survivors, people who had lost everything. Then, one day, he just left. He said the city had nothing left to teach him. Now he grew his own food, talked to maybe 5 people a year. Marco looked up and asked, "Does she take visitors?" The neighbor shrugged. "Sometimes, if he thinks you are ready to listen." Marco did not sleep that night either, but for the first time in months, it was not the old thoughts keeping him awake. It was something that felt dangerously like hope. The journey took 4 days. He had no car. The bus only ran twice a week. The last stretch had to be walked. He packed light, a change of clothes, a water bottle, a journal he had been meaning to write in for 2 years and never had. And somewhere on the second day of walking, surrounded by pine trees and the distant sound of a creek, he noticed something strange. He was not thinking. Not about the past, not about the future. Just the sound of his boots on the trail. Just the smell of the cold morning air. Just the next step. He did not know it then, but that was the beginning. The village appeared in the late afternoon light like something out of a photograph that someone had actually lived in. Stone paths, window boxes full of herbs, a dog sleeping in a square of sun, and at the edge of it all, a small house half swallowed by climbing vines, a wooden porch, and an old man sitting in a chair with his eyes closed and his hands resting open in his lap. Still, completely still. Marco stood at the gate for a long moment. This man looked like he had already found whatever Marco was looking for, and the gap between them felt enormous. He pushed open the gate anyway. "Sir," he said quietly, "I am sorry to interrupt." The old man opened his eyes. They were calm, not the calm of someone who had never felt pain, but the calm of someone who had felt all of it and learned to set it down. "You did not interrupt anything," the old man said. "Sit down." Marco sat on the steps. He told the man everything, the sleepless nights, the loop of thoughts, the exhaustion of living inside his own head. The old man listened without speaking. When Marco finished, there was a silence that did not feel uncomfortable. It felt earned. Then the old man stood up. "Come with me," he said. "I want to give you a task." He led Marco into the small yard behind the house. From a shelf near the back door, he took a plain glass and filled it with water, right to the very brim, so full that the surface curved slightly above the rim, held in place by nothing but surface tension. One wrong move and it would spill. He handed it to Marco. "Walk to the edge of the village and back," he said simply. "Do not spill a single drop." Marco looked at the glass, then at the man.
That is it? That is it. The village path was alive in the way small places always are in the late afternoon. A woman was hanging laundry from an upstairs window. Two old men were arguing cheerfully over a fence. Children were kicking a ball against a wall, falling and laughing. Somewhere, a radio was playing. Somewhere else, someone was frying onions. Marco did not see any of it. His eyes were on the water, not because he was trying to block everything out, but because the water demanded his full attention. The slightest tip of the wrist and it would be gone. Each step had to be deliberate. His breath had to be steady. His mind, for the first time in months, had exactly one job. Just this, just the glass, just now. He reached the edge of the village. He turned around. He walked back, slow, steady, completely present, not one drop spilled. The old man nodded. Good. Then he asked, "While you were walking, did you notice the children playing?" "No." "Did you hear the argument between the two men at the fence?" "No." "The radio, the laundry in the window?" Marco blinked. "I did not notice any of that. I was only looking at the water." The old man sat down slowly, like a man who has said the next part many times and still means it every single time. "Yes," he said, "that is exactly it. Your mind is not broken. It is just undirected. Left to itself, it will always drift, backward to what you regret, forward to what you fear. That is what minds do. They wander. And every time yours wanders, it finds something to hurt you with. But when you were carrying that glass, where was your mind?" Marco said quietly, "Here, just here." "Exactly," said the old man, "in the present. And in the present, there is no past to grieve. There is no future to dread. There is only what is actually happening, right now, in this moment. That is where peace lives."
"But I cannot carry a glass of water everywhere," Marco said. The old man almost smiled. "No, but you can carry this." He tapped his own chest. "Awareness, the habit of noticing. When you feel your mind pulling you backward, notice it. Do not fight it. Do not judge it. Just notice it, the way you noticed the water moving. And then bring yourself back to your breath, to your feet on the ground, to the person in front of you, to what is real right now. It takes practice," he added. "Some days you will carry the glass perfectly. Some days you will spill. But every time you bring yourself back, you get a little stronger, a little quieter, a little more here. That is all I have for you. The rest is yours." Marco left the village at first light the next morning. The walk back took the same 4 days, the same trails, the same cold morning air through the same pine trees. But something was different. He noticed things, not because he was trying to, but because he had stopped running from himself long enough to actually see. A hawk riding a thermal above the ridge, the way frost on a rock face caught the early sun and held it for exactly 1 second before it melted. An old woman in a doorway who met his eyes and smiled without reason. He smiled back, and that was everything. The thoughts still came. Of course they did. The mind does not become a different instrument overnight. But now, when they came, he had something to do with them. He could notice them. He could name them. He could set them down, the way you set down a glass you have been holding for too long and feel the muscles unclench. He got home on a Tuesday, made coffee, sat by the window. The mountains were doing what they always do, standing there, unhurried, indifferent to whether anyone noticed. But Marco noticed, and for the first time in a long time, that was enough. He opened his journal, the one he had carried for 2 years without writing in. He wrote one sentence: "Peace is not something you find, it is something you return to." Then he closed it and drank his coffee while it was still warm. If this story found you at the right moment, share it with someone who needs it. And if you are carrying something heavy right now, remember this: you do not have to solve everything today. You do not have to fix the past. You do not have to control the future. You just have to carry the glass,
one step at a time, one breath at a time, one moment at a time. We will see you in the next story. Until then, stay present, stay here.